Hello, welcome to the Adventure Corner. This playlist does not fit the vibe of the day, but that's okay. We'll get to a chill one after this. I'm your host, Robot Spacer. I think I forgot that part. Good to see you, Culinary. Hope you're doing well. Okay, what the heck are we going to do today? I think we're going to finish up this streaming room art to start with, and then we'll see if we have time for more after that. So I'm looking at what we did on Friday, and I'm mostly very happy with it. The lamp, I think, looks perfect. The Stream Deck looks perfect. The keyboard, I think I want to put a little more shading on the other rows of keys. I think that'll help. The computer could use some pixel art and chill on this most tumultuous day. Oh gosh. I'm glad I'm able to provide that for you. So the Mac, I originally had it straight up and down, but these computers, like the front face of it has kind of a tilt backwards to it. And it felt like it was too straight up and down. It just looked a little off. So I gave it that bit of a tilt, and I wonder if maybe I went too far with the tilt or something. I don't know, but I'm very tempted to tweak that, even though I should probably just leave it alone. The mic, I think, looks good, though we need to fill in, there's this little gap here where it's white just because it's enclosed. So we need to either fill in the pattern there or make a little gap so the pattern can get filled in automatically. Don't know how I just noticed that's the Mac 2 in this scene. Yes, Macintosh 512K is what I was going for. One of the original models, the original design. And then this whole, all these mounts and bits up here are not quite done. This key light up here, I think I want to tweak a little bit. It just looks a tiny bit sloppy. And then like this camera needs some detail to look more like an actual camera and have some depth to it. And then this over here should look like a phone mount with a phone in it. I can't decide. I might just leave the arms as they are. Like they're a little lacking in detail, but that's also okay, I think. But we'll see how it looks when I finish up the other stuff. One thing I realized, this shape here, I thought I had to freehand that shape, but then I realized if I did it in Mac Paint, I could actually take a rounded rectangle and rotate it. So I might give that a shot and see if it looks a little neater that way. Okay, start with save as, since we're gonna alter some things here. I'll start with the keyboard. That seems relatively straightforward. So I think, like, it just looks a little oversimplified, I guess. Like the key area looks too flat overall. But I like what I did with this row with the shading here. So I'm thinking maybe if I do just a little bit of that shading along the bottom edge of these other two rows, it'll look more like what I'm going for. So we'll see how that works out. think I prefer that. It's kind of hard to tell. Now let's make some little adjustments here. Good afternoon, Silver. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Ooh, got your astronaut ice cream. Sad to report I got the wrong flavor delivered. Instead of the large brick, it was like little heart shapes. Huh. Just like the astronauts eat. It's a bummer, though. I can't remember if you said what flavor you had ordered. Banana split. Mmm. Sounds pretty good. Got a variety pack. Ah, bummer. So now I'm trying to think. I'm just fussing at it more, basically. The actual keyboard has more space on the sides, and it bugs me a little bit that it's not quite accurate. And I think this side looks so weird, and it's still bothering me. I thought I could let it go, but it's not working out. I feel like a thing I frequently run into, I mean, this almost applies to anything, is that the more happier I am with it overall, the more I want to like nitpick the little details that aren't quite right. So like some of the earlier scenes I did, like, you know, I was trying very hard to, you know, not make anything perfect. And because nothing was perfect, you know, the whole thing was like, you know, not quite what I wanted, but it was perfectly fine. But that made it easier to not stress about little details that I wasn't quite happy with. But now that I'm spending more time on each scene, it's harder to do that. Hello, Efton. Good to see you. Secret room where you find the developer's workspace. Yes, that's exactly where we are. Though I have replaced my actual streaming computer with a Macintosh 512K. So this keeps happening when I try to redraw this. I get this skinny side that looks wrong. Even though it seems right? Like, I don't think the perspective is particularly off or anything. But maybe I just need to do something like that to widen it a little. That's better. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better than what I had before. Alright, let's... Just gonna make a copy of that. Hello, 6-7. My VOD has suddenly changed From the sad text adventure to this. And the chat works. Mysterious. That is very strange. But welcome. Good to see you. Hope you're doing all right. Okay, so like I was saying, I'm going to try to narrow the key part of this so there's more space on either side, just because I want it to look accurate to how this keyboard actually looked, or at least more accurate than it is. Like, obviously it's not going to be perfect. It's going to look kind of messy initially, but then I'll go back and clean it up. Let me just check my reference here real quick. Okay. So the space on the side should be similar to the space in front here. Blah Holtzen, hello. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. It's very messy. Love that little hot dog. If it's not a hot dog, please don't tell me. I don't want to know that. What happened here? Okay. Looks like a hot dog and a link hat to me. Yeah. That seems to be the case as far as I could tell. It is. Okay, good. Thank you for confirming. I did initially think maybe it was a turtle on the hot dog's head, but I think link hat is definitely more what it looks like. Sausage link. Alright. I think that's... I'm going to leave that for now, and then I'll adjust the other side and see how it looks overall. So... we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pixels of white space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so just 1 pixel over? Is that right? Seems wrong. We might go 2. It's probably better if we go 2. Streamer named Link Hot Dog, and so running Hot Dog with a Link hat. Got it. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. Eventually I'll be happy with this, maybe. One hopes. Yeah, that's better, I think. Looking a little bit more like the chonky keyboard it is. Okay, so let's see if we can clean this up now. Glad to see I'm not the only one who fidgets with, what if this could be 1 more pixel over on stuff even when the actual game part isn't done yet? Yeah, like every artist I know does this. Totally normal thing to do. Thank you. Oh, goofed up this pattern. There we go. Yeah. Looks better than this, I think. Okay. So I'm happy with that now, I think. Let's try some other moving things by 1 pixel. So I mentioned at the start of stream, I originally had the front face of this computer straight up and down, but it didn't quite look right to me. It looked a little too rigid. And the actual computer has a bit of a tilt backwards to give it a nice viewing angle. So I tried to, give it that in the pixel art here, but it looks a little like it's maybe leaning too far back. So I think I'm gonna try just adjusting the tilt by probably just 1 pixel forward to see how that looks. I'm not quite happy with this. It just looks a little sloppy, like it's not quite symmetrical up there. So I might redraw that and see how it turns out. 1 pixel makes a world of difference at this scale, to be fair. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's make a copy of this, just kind of for reference more than anything. And then I think this front edge, I'll just go ahead and erase. Normal eraser is a little too big for this. So we can just use a white paintbrush. Okay, so I'm thinking more like that. It's such a subtle difference, but I feel good about it. Okay. I keep occasionally remembered a thing I discovered toward the end of stream last week, which is that when we copy and paste things directly from Mac Paint into World Builder, if it's too tall, it gets split up into chunks that are, I think, 64 pixels high each. Which has been a little bit of a frustration throughout the past 22 weeks of working on this game. But last week, I decided to finally check and see what happened if I open the same file in Super Paint, which is a Silicon Beach software program, the same company that made World Builder, and copied from there and pasted into World Builder. And it didn't split it up into chunks, which means that if you have like this lamp, especially, like this is way taller than 64 pixels, so it was getting split up into 3 chunks the way I normally do things. So that meant that it wasn't a complete enclosed shape, which meant that it was transparent in many places. Like, for example, if you ended up with a section like this, the bottom here would be open, basically. So this whole area would be transparent, which is not what we wanted. Whereas if we can get, at least the complete shade, then, this is all enclosed by black pixels. So it's able to make that opaque. So yeah, if I just open things up in Super Paint and copy them from there and paste them into World Builder, it solves that whole problem, and it's so much nicer. And I'm both very happy about that and very frustrated that I didn't figure it out sooner. But that was a big help with this scene because the lamp, the computer, the microphone were all too tall. and we're getting split up. Okay, so now I'm trying to figure out how to adjust the tilt of the display area here. It's tricky. I might just kind of delete all this. I think this is what I'll do. I'm going to delete all this, and I'm going to redraw the sides. But then I think I can take most of the middle area and drop that back in. Game changer indeed. Reminds me of an experience I think pretty much anyone doing digital art can relate to, is watching someone else work in Photoshop and seeing the way they do things and just, you know, noticing at least one, if not several little details that are like, oh God, you can do that? I had no idea. I've been using this for years and I had no idea you could do it that way. Just like Photoshop, there's so many different ways to do things. And, you know, you tend to get, you know, once you figure out a way to do something that works pretty well, you tend to, you know, not worry about that anymore. So it's very easy to overlook stuff like that. So I'm learning Affinity Designer for YouTube thumbnails. Nice. Didn't know you could nest. What? Culinary? What? What? What the fuck are you even talking? How do you nest scenes? That doesn't even make sense to me. How do you do that? Oh, God. You can literally add a scene as a source. That would make so many things easier. Thank you for saying that, but also I'm upset. I've done groups, which is very helpful, but it never occurred to me to do a scene. Jeez. Scene source is how I did my mask. I have a video background during my debut. Ah, okay. Interesting. Have a scene that is my whole overlay, so now everything works on every scene. God damn it. Oh. Once you use it as a source, you can also apply video filters to that source. Oh, shit. Okay, I'm learning so much. Y'all got any other good tips? I'm trying to think of something cool I learned recently, but aside from the super paint thing, which probably isn't useful to anyone else, nothing is coming to mind. God, that's great. I'm gonna have to play around with that. Here's a thing. While we're talking about OBS, I have occasionally wanted to rotate something like an arbitrary amount, just like, you know, a few degrees to put it at an angle. Just a slight tilt, so, you know, like I have a chat overlay that lines up with some, pixel art background image is a specific thing I was trying to do. Is there a way you can do that? You can do a transform for that. Okay. How did I miss that? Okay, thank you. Like, it's right there. I've seen the transform menu many times. When I was trying to do it, for some reason, I couldn't find that anywhere. Wait, transform is... Oh, there's the rotation. Okay. Yeah, I go in the transform window often to tweak, sizing and cropping and stuff. I'd never really paid much attention to rotation. Thank you. better. If you want to do 3D transforms, you have to get an extension, which is how I do in my mainframe room, and make the chat appear projected on the display image. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the kind of stuff I'm thinking, like, I don't think I would bother to do a proper 3D effect. Just giving it a little tilt would be enough to make it look right. I'm looking at the way the outside line and this line lines up. Just the way the shifts in the pixels line up with each other bugs me a little. Like, that feels better to me. This side is still not ideal, but yeah, I don't know. This side's just a little trickier because, like, I don't want to do the same thing here because then it's like that, which just looks weird. Need to get about cleaning up my scene list in general. Need to just duplicate the scene collections and split up collabs from normal streams. Yeah, that's what I did when we did our Colossal Cave collab. I just duplicated my normal collection and made a bunch of changes there, which is a little annoying in some ways. Like, at this point, I've made lots of other changes and that collection is out of date now, but it seemed easier than having it all jumbled together. Oh, I just realized when I was understanding what Culinary was talking about, I think I missed some chat. Silver said, color coding scenes was a thing I didn't know about until I helped another streamer with OBS setup. What is that? Like, how do you do that? Hello, Big Boy Streams. Welcome. This program is Mac Paint. I am making a game in a different program called World Builder, which is created by William C. Appleton and released by Silicon Beach Software in 1986. It's a program for creating point-and-click text adventure or point-and-click adventure games, and it also has a parser input, so you can do text commands as well. But yeah, I'm currently creating some art for that in MacPaint. Sources, not scenes. Color coding sources. Ah, okay. Oh, set color. Okay, neat. That's handy. Yeah, that seems like a nice way to kind of more easily visually differentiate things. Okay. So I think the shape of the display now I'm happy with. So now I got to take the inner part of this one and drop it into that new shape. And hopefully that'll look good as is, but if not, we can tweak it afterward. Okay, so that's a little bit wider. We did make it a little narrower. Let's see. Just thinking about the best way to handle that. I think I'm gonna make this a couple pixels narrower. See how that looks. Okay. Oh, down here. I think that's pretty good. One other thing I'm thinking about with the front of this is the actual computer has these beveled edges along all of the front edges, which isn't really communicated here. For the most part, it doesn't bother me too much, but these top corners end up looking a little too square because of it. I'm just deciding if there's any way I can improve on that. If we had colors, it'd be much easier. Wondering if maybe I could do like a dotted line. Whoop. Doesn't really accomplish what I was after. It's just because the beveled edge is a fairly subtle effect, it's hard to communicate that with, you know, only black and white pixels to work with in a way that looks good. I think I just won't worry about it. I'll maybe try making this corner a little more rounded. Yeah, that helps a little. And then this top part is still kind of bugging me. It just looks weirdly asymmetrical. So I think I'll just try completely redrawing that. Thank you for the follow. Glad to have you here. So, just, oh, yikes. I accidentally double-clicked the eraser, which erases your entire drawing. Wonderful feature. a little bit drastic to put on a double click without any confirmation. Especially when you only get one undo and zooming discards that undo. Okay, so that base shape looks good. So I'm going to try to more carefully work out the proper perspective of these lines here. I think I'm pretty much doing the same process I did before. I'm just going to hopefully do a better job of it. Just checking my reference. This isn't quite right. That line looks better. Oops. So let's see. Let's try to get the same number of pixels over here. So right around this here is where we want this line to be. That angle looks pretty good. Yeah. I'm trying to decide, like, because I rounded this corner, this looks a little weird. I don't know. Yeah, I think that looks better. Okay, great. And then we need... So the way the top of this thing actually looks, like, these areas here are flat all the way back, and then there's a section in the front here that's the same height, and then this chunk in back here is like inset, and there's actually a handle there. So if if you're facing the front like this and you reach back and put your hand around this area here, there's like a inset part there so you can pick it up. So this chunk here is like further down. So that's what I'm trying to draw here. Which one of these is better? Neither one seems quite right. Like the actual angle I want is right in between, but it's not a thing we can do. I think that's better. Yeah. So this gets erased. Yeah, once I take that line out, it's like it starts to look very different. Like I'm fussing over it more than I need to. It's interesting. I think this comes straight down. Actually hard to tell in my reference. Okay, it's not straight down. It does have an angle there. Like that. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that line. Yeah, that looks better. In this version, I had, like, you could see the lower part here, but I don't think that would actually be visible at this angle. So that seems better. There are also on the actual computer like vents along these side areas, but I think it'll look too cluttered to try to draw that. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. All right, let's try to make this look like a camera instead of a rectangle. I think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Let's see. So this is, I got a lot of Elgato stuff. Big Elgato fan. Sponsor me, Elgato. I'll do it. This is Elgato. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I do not remember. Facecam. That's it. The non-pro version. Though I was very tempted by the pro version. It's a little bit overkill for what I do. And I already had this one when it came out. Okay. So that's about the right shape and size, I think. It needs to have a little bit of depth to it. So let's move this up a little just so we have more room to work. I think that looks pretty good. We need a lens in the center. Ideally in the center. I think that's right. Drawing little rectangles is a tried and true method to measure things. Still do it even in Photoshop. Just trying to do some, like there's a, on the actual thing, there's a ton of like concentric circles here. I'm not going to try to draw all of them because there's not enough pixels to do that, but a couple of them I think looks good. And then we have, like this front edge has a little bit of a lip. So I'm gonna see if I can draw that and make it look nice. The bottom edge is tricky. Let's move this out of the way for a second. Nothing I try here looks quite right. I guess that's not too bad. It seems a little weird, but I could also just not worry about the lip. Maybe that's the better way to go. This is going to be shaded in fairly dark anyway, so... Oh. Wait, what? Oh, no. That's annoying. I must have saved this. Okay, I think I know what I did. The microphone is not shaded in that version, so I think what happened is I shaded it, and then I did a save as, but I should have saved first and then done a save as. This should have the shaded version. Okay. I just want that right now because, you know, the microphone and mic arm are also, you know, black. So I want to have similar shading on the camera. So this is helpful for reference. There we go. Problem solved. Okay, I'm not going to shade that yet. I want to finish drawing all this other stuff here. And then I'll do another save as and shade it, just in case I goof up and want to backtrack. I'm just looking at comparing this with real life. Like in real life, there's like a little mount above the camera that attaches it to this arm here. But I think I'm gonna not worry about that. I'm just debating. Maybe it'd look a little more interesting if I try to draw a simplified version of it. Nah. I'm abandoning this idea. Shoot, did I save? Am I gonna regret this? I think it's fine. Okay, good. Oh, it is before I pasted that in. Okay. Now I'm going to do this key light. Again, I drew that already in World Builder as vector art, but I think I can make a little neater in here. So it's pretty square. It's pretty square in real life. So make it. Okay. If we hold down Shift before drawing, we can get a perfect square. That's nice. Make sure that's about the right size. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay. Now, if we go into click art effects, we can rotate this an arbitrary amount. Obviously, it got a little messy at the corners, but I think if I clean that up by hand, it'll come out nicer than what we have. I also just realized I should draw the inner part before I rotate it. looks right, I think. Rounded corners inside of rounded corners are very tricky. Gosh, there's a great little piece of art that somebody did. I can't remember who did it. There's a great illustration of what you're looking out for and like how to correct it, but I can't think of where I could dig that up to share it. But basically, if you have a rounded corner and then a rounded corner inside of it, your inside corner should have a smaller radius so that there's like a consistent distance between the two lines. The way it was originally, it's like there's almost like a lump in the corners, which in the illustration I was thinking of, I believe was illustrated by a snake with some like something large stuck in its throat. Okay. You're brave to handcraft your own rounded corners. I always just gone to the corner store. It's just round the corner. Very good. Rounded corners, and talking about rounded corners in a physical sense reminds me of a little device I have, which I enjoy very much. I'm gonna go grab it real quick. It's a Marvy corner punch. Let's see. What can I demonstrate this on? We start talking about curves and he goes on a tangent. Yes. So this is it. Let's see. I need a square piece of paper to demonstrate on. I'll demonstrate on one of my Swamp Witch map pages. So, normal piece of paper, square corners. Nobody wants that though. Marvy corner punch can fix it. So you just stick your corner in here, punch down, and it just punches off this little corner piece. And now you got a nice rounded corner. I believe I mainly bought this for business cards. You can buy business cards that already have rounded corners. They take care of that for you. But this was a lot cheaper approach, and I very rarely give out business cards, so it's not like I needed to do that many. But nice fun little way to make a piece of paper look more interesting. It would be funny if you had already rounded all the paper you had. I mean, don't tempt me. I would do it. Have a stack of fun little mini cards to hand out at PAX now. Yes! I saw your art for that. Very, very nice. You got those from Moo, is that right? I don't think I've ever actually ordered from them, but there was one point where I was going to, but then I went with someone else for some reason. Cannot remember what that reason was. Oh, now I'm realizing I should have saved and or made a copy of this before I rotated it, but it's too late for that now. So if I goof it up, we'll just start over. That's okay. So far, it's looking pretty good. Moo does good work. Good to know. Yeah, I had gotten a good impression of them based on other folks. So tricky. This corner looks a little too square. This corner looks a little too round, but if I tweak them, I kind of end up with the opposite problem. That's pretty good, I think. Now I'm just trying to decide if I want to... Like, I feel like this should have a little bit of depth to it. In some direction. It's tricky. I guess that angle makes more sense because, like, it's pointed, you know, toward me. I'm right here. It's pointed toward me, so. I'm just trying to decide, like, that makes it look a little thicker than it really is. But that looks a little... Like the top edge there looks a little not great. Let me do that. Seems pretty good. The Chuck theme. Largo Legrand, actually. From Monkey Island 2. There's so many games I'm dying to play that aren't spooky games. And lately I've had Spooky Tuesday and I've had my Friday streams, which have been World Builder for so long now. And I want to get in more non-spooky games, and I can't figure out how to do that. Like I don't really have time to add another stream day as much as I would love to. So I don't know. I might. We'll see. I'm currently trying to, you know, do an occasional Friday stream that's something different. Like I think this coming Friday, I'm gonna stream my my early games I made myself, along with some other random stuff I would like to share from my childhood. But like, I really would love to play the Monkey Island series, and that's a lot. That's going to be a lot of streams. So I don't know how to work that in. Silver says, I'm the inverse. I would like to dedicate a day to streaming GDevelop stuff, but no time. Time Travel Tuesdays. There you go. But yeah, I have considered possibly doing non-spooky Tuesdays occasionally. We'll see. Certainly if I get to a point where there's like a non-spooky game that I'm super excited to get to, and the spooky games I have lined up are less exciting to me at that moment, then I might do that. Okay, so we have camera, we have key light. Now we need this phone arm thing, which in real life I can't look at it correctly because it's directly overhead, and in this image it's pushed off to the side. So let's see. My photo reference also isn't quite right because it doesn't have the phone in it, but it's better than nothing at least. Ever so slightly better than nothing. Like the little clamp that holds the phone which is what I've drawn as a rectangle here. It's very simple, so having a reference for that isn't the most useful. So the actual thing is... something like this. Obviously it also has depth to it, but I'm not going to draw that quite yet. And then with the phone in it, like the phone kind of goes... Trying to get the right perspective on it here. It's tricky because this is very close to... Where is the horizon line here? I feel like it's probably around here. But the point being, like, at this height, you're going to see a little bit of the top of this phone, but not a lot. I guess another possibility is I could just leave it without the phone in it. I mean, it is off to the side as though it's not being used currently. But I feel like it'll look a little more interesting if I put the phone in there, so I'll continue attempting to draw it. We did discuss the possibility of putting a 90s phone in here, which... It's tricky because, like, I agree that would be funny, but I don't know that I can really communicate the difference aside from just making it thicker. Just because you're going to see so little of the front of it. Well, actually, this is going to be the back because it'd be facing down. Wait, no, that's incorrect. Yeah. So this would be the front. Just trying to think. What if I did try to do that? How thick would this be? This probably honestly isn't thick enough. Maybe it's about right. Yeah, I think it's starting to look a little goofy and weird. I guess maybe it's too big overall. But yeah, I don't think I can pull it off in a way that's going to be obvious and therefore funny. So I don't think I'm going to try. Antenna? Yeah, that would make sense. But I still think it's going to be too hard for me to communicate. Like, I can definitely get it looking, you know, roughly like a period appropriate phone. It's just, I find it doubtful someone would look at it and, you know, be like, oh, that's funny. It's like a 90s phone in there. And then, like, you know, this, in order for them to understand the joke, like, they kind of also need to understand that this is like, this is my overhead cam phone. Like, I don't know, it's just too much to get across. Hello, Spinning Mind. Good to see you. I think it would need to be a flip phone for me to read as 90s. Interesting. I'm trying to think. I don't think I ever had a flip phone. I was very much a like candy bar style phone kind of guy. Only 90s kids will get this phone. Yeah. Like the button cover type flip phone. I don't think I even had that. Now I'm thinking about the Matrix phone. That cool little slide out button cover thing. Very fancy. Certainly did not have anything like that. Had one candy bar, one flip, and then a Motorola Droid, and it was all over for me. I had, as far as I can recall, I had a super basic candy bar phone that was just like, you know, whatever relatively expensive thing they were offering that I used for a pretty good while. And then eventually I got determined to find something, you know, much nicer and more modern that had a bunch of features I wanted, like playing MP3s and, you know, doing email and some limited web browsing and stuff. So then I ended up with a Sony model that was pretty nice. It wasn't what I really wanted, but it was close enough that I was happy with it for a while. And then the iPhone came out, and that was pretty good to me. So I've been using an iPhone since. Hinton, hello from someone wearing a sexy Garf t-shirt. Oh, now I'm disappointed now because I was this close to wearing mine. But I decided I should save it for a longer stream. But that's great. I'm very happy for you. Refused to give up my pager until pager plan was more expensive than the cheapest little flip phones. Until they made a pager plan that was more expensive than the cheapest little flip phones. Got it. Keep hoping to see you in yours. It will happen, I promise. What happened here? I did something kind of weird. What did I do? It's just my lines got weird somehow. It's fine. Oh, cool. My PC wants to restart for updates. I love this for me. Yeah, that's great. Everybody loves that. Someone says, my situation was weird with cell phones because I needed one without having credit history, family credit, etc. So I ended up with a Motorola-made candy bar phone. It was totally fine. I keep trying to remember the brand of my first one. Nokia. Yeah, it was a Nokia. And then the later candy bar I had was a Sony. Earliest cell phone was that one Nokia with Snake on it. Honestly, like, that's probably the exact same phone I had. Like, it was a super generic, like, so many people had that phone kind of phone. And the green screen, yes, exactly. Exactly. Thrown an image of the Motorola on the Discord. Fantastic. I'm going to go look at it right now. And if anyone else wants to and isn't on Discord, there's a link. Oh, nice. That's pretty good. I remember being very confused by the sound my Nokia was making, and it turned out I had received something called a text message. That's wonderful. I'm going to erase this bit here just to get it out of the way, because that's going to be vector art. Phone itself was always gray silver, but you could buy it in different color sides. Interesting. I vaguely remember blue, purple, and green, and they were rubberized but not user replaceable. Huh, okay. That looks pretty much right to me. I'm just trying to think of how to draw this part of it here. Right or not, it looks great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's fine. Doesn't need to be perfect. Just want it to kind of look like what it's supposed to be. And this will connect up with the vector art for the arm. Hopefully. Okay. Is that everything I wanted to do in here? I think it is. So we'll save. And then we'll save as. And then we'll add some shading to our new objects here. So this camera again is, oh, a thing I wanted to add. This has a little blue light on the side here. Yeah. Okay. make the front of this gray, like the microphone. And I think I'll make the side black. And it's tricky. Let's try this. Make this a little bigger. And then fill that with gray. It looks a little weird, but I think it's okay. Davor, hello. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well today. Yeah, I think that's a little better, even though it looks less round. Maybe I'll add like a little. Is there a spot where I can add a little bit of a highlight? You know, as though there's some light hitting the lens in just the right spot here. Just trying to find a pixel I can take out that gives the effect I'm after. I'm not quite finding it. Yeah, I'll do that. That's fine. Just working on some UI again. Feels never ending. Yeah. I can relate to that. Well, hopefully you're making progress at least. Okay, so phone. Again, the clamp is, you know, the same black color as our other stuff around here. So we'll shade that similarly. And then black sides. Hinton has survived PC update time. I'm glad to hear that. Welcome back. Ah, shoot. And then the phone. This is the front of it, so that's just black. And it's got a case that covers up the edges. So those should be a lighter color. I could just do gray, or I could do a little bit of a different pattern. I kind of think gray might end up looking the best just because it's such a thin space. Like any other pattern ends up looking a little weird in a thin space like that. That should be good. Keep thinking your mouse pointer is my mouse pointer. Brain confused. I'm so sorry. Okay. I think that's good. And then the key light. Similar situation. So the large rectangle is white. It's white when it's on. I think I'm just going to make it white, even though we're kind of ignoring it as a light source. When it's off, obviously it's still white. It's just not as bright, so it would look more like that. But I feel like that's going to look a little odd. Okay. We'll drop all that in and see how it looks. I think it'll be pretty good. All right. So I'm copying these directly from Mac Paint, but it's fine because they're small. For the bigger stuff that we tweaked, we'll need to go into Super Paint. Mainly the computer. The keyboard should be okay, since it's wide but not very tall. Width doesn't make a difference. Okay, we got all the pixels. Good. Oops. I'm waiting for it to open, and then I realize, oh, right, I need to actually tell it to open. So streaming room 7. There we go. So I'm just going to start out by erasing stuff that's close to it. And oh God, Super Paint, so good. We got polygon selections. What is this? What? I don't understand. It's like a rectangle inside another rectangle. But it just seems to... Oh, it's got a weird... Like with this, like the marching ants continually go in one direction. With this, they're like bouncing back and forth. What does that mean? What? Huh. I have my actual printed Super Paint manual right over there. I'm a little tempted to grab it, but I think I'll resist the urge. Fascinating, though. Okay. So I'm copying this, for anyone that missed the explanation earlier, I'm copying this from Super Paint because for whatever reason, if we copy directly from Mac Paint, an object that's taller than, I believe, 64 pixels, it gets split up into chunks. And when it's not a singular shape, it screws up the transparency because we need an enclosed shape to make it opaque. And with something tall, we can only get that from Super Paint. Seems to just be some weird, like, technical difference in the way it's transferring the data. Since World Builder and Super Paint are made by the same company, well, they were released by the same company around the same time. I'm sure they, put some extra effort in there to make it as compatible as possible. Okay, so here's our streaming room as it is now. Here's our new Macintosh. Ever so slightly adjusted. I think it looks better. Just moving it back and forth by 1 pixel, as you do. That'll do. While I'm thinking about it, let's figure out how to get this tiny little area here to be transparent. I think if we just knock out a little opening here, it'll probably end up looking fine. It's tricky. It's not quite perfect. Like, you can definitely see that gap I created. I think maybe I'll try drawing the pattern in instead of that approach. Oops. Oh, I can't undo in here? Oh gosh. That's terrible. Huh. Let's cancel. I goofed that up too much. This particular pixel drawing interface is not good, and that's why I don't normally use it. I can't even move this window, I guess. Shit, did it again. At least I think I did. Is that pixel there or not? The track in Deltarune that I think uses the same reverby bells as this track. Hip Shop, I think it's called. Interesting. I have not played Deltarune, and I still have not even played Undertale, if you can believe it. I do very much want to. Okay. I don't know if those dots are in the correct places, but I think it looks fine. It's close enough that it looks convincing. Hinton says, I have started Undertale more than once. Blaholson says they're great. Spinning Mind says, I can believe it. I think that's reasonable. Silver says, my experience doing 2 streams of Undertale spoiled me from ever playing it, but I did watch a playthrough. Lovely game. Slightly shitty community, sadly. I bounced off Undertale. Enjoyed other people telling me about it more than playing. Interesting. Don't ever stream Undertale. Okay, noted. Davor said, I thought Undertale was extremely overrated, but I know some people got a lot out of it. Yeah, part of the reason I haven't played it is I know a lot more about it than I generally like to when I play a game, unfortunately. But it does seem like a game I would appreciate quite a bit. So it's on my games I'd like to play, but not in a hurry to. I feel like the more time goes on, probably the odds I will enjoy it will go up. was a pretty cheeky little game that just got very popular, I think. Yeah, for sure. Culinary says, when you go live, Twitch turns on the bat signal for all the rabid fans to come harass you on stream and spoil the game for you. Oh, jeez. That sucks. Tonics, hello. Thank you so much for coming by. Great to see you. I hope you had a good stream. Let's see, what were you playing? More Baldur's Gate on Macintosh. Fantastic. I hope you had a great time. If you haven't been over here before, hello, I am Robot Spacer. We are making a game in World Builder, which is a program from 1986 for the classic Macintosh, created by William C. Appleton and released by Silicon Beach Software. It's designed for creating little point-and-click adventure games, and that's what we're making in it. Been doing this for 22 streams now. And we've made a lot of progress, and I think it's coming along pretty great. Mutant Raid. I love those little Dark Castle emotes. So good. Good to see you, Game Dev Jeff. And hello again, Tonics. It's actually first time I catch your stream. Just followed a couple days ago, but I already love the stuff here. Wonderful. Thank you again for the follow and the raid as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to give Game Dev Jeff a little shout out here. Let me catch up on chat here. We were talking about Undertale and some unfortunate experiences folks had streaming it. Silver says, less spoiling and more, in my experience, that they get very aggressive if you don't play exactly the way they want you to. Sort of the opposite of the Outer Wilds community, basically. Interesting. Karina Boatker, the voice of Paimon, tried to stream Undertale and got harassed so badly that she ended stream and never played the game again. Oh, that's awful. It's wild that like I can understand a community being really into a game and passionate about it, but it's so strange that you would, be that way about trying to force other people to play it the way you want them to play it and stuff. Like I would much rather people enjoy a game in their own way and get to see a different way of experiencing something that I'm really into. That just makes more sense to me. Looking forward to seeing what stuff you're working on. Game dev plus old Macs equals best combination. Yes. When I started this, we're working in System 6, by the way. 608. And when I started this, I originally planned it to be just a short little thing, like, maybe a month long, maybe, 5 or 6 streams at most. But it just ended up being so enjoyable, and just I love working in this. It's I've always appreciated interesting constraints, almost in any type of work I do. And this is just so many interesting constraints compared to usual game development stuff that I just found it really enjoyable and fun to play around in. So we've gone far beyond our original plans for this game. David says, oh man, the Outer Wilds community will not tolerate anything approaching spoilers. It's wonderful. That is great. A month, lol. Yeah, exactly. All right. So this here is actually the room I am in now. You may recognize the microphone. I am not using the Macintosh you see here in the picture. I thought it'd be funny to replace my actual streaming computer with this 512K Mac that I have in the other room and grew up using. But otherwise, this is a pretty good representation of where I am right now. This is just a little Easter egg in the game. And we're just updating some of these graphics here. I've been drawing a lot of... The art has all been drawn in either World Builder itself, which has some vector art tools, or in Mac Paint if I want to do a little bitmap graphic. So all the objects on the desk here are bitmap graphics from Mac Paint. So we're just pasting those in. And then like the desk itself and the window and stuff was all created in World Builder and Vector Graphics. Thank you so much for that subscription. I appreciate that very much. Great to have your support. Okay, let's see. I got a key light here we need to drop in. Oops. Okay, that's pretty good. Heck, am I done with this room now? There's a pixel here. I would love that pixel to be gray. It's so hard to get it just right. I'm gonna try. This is probably a bad idea. Oh, yeah, okay. It overlapped the black line. So we lost some of that now, which is worse, I think. Okay. Back to how we started. That's fine. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to adjust here. I still don't love the under desk area, but I don't know how to improve on it. Like, it feels like this should be a little more in shadow, but I tried so many different variations and couldn't find one that I was any happier with. Toe Jam and Earl? Yeah, I think that's correct. Let me double check here. Oh wait, no. This is Jazz Jackrabbit, right? Yeah. Unless I'm completely wrong somehow. Okay. As long as you agree, that sounds correct. I do feel like there's some Toe Jam and Earl somewhere on one of these playlists. Yeah, so like I like this shade for under here, but then I want the side of this cabinet to be a different shade. Like, I don't want it to be the same as under the desk, because then we lose this line. I guess I could... Maybe if I adjust this, we can get our line back. And maybe that'll look good. No. It's tricky. Let's try this one again. That, and then this, the darker gray. Yeah, maybe that's the one I'm the most happy with. Like, it looks a little too dark under there now, but I think I like it better than what we started with. And now I'm trying to decide, this cabinet here has some drawers in it. I'm just looking over to see what it looks like. And debating whether I want to put that detail in or not. I'm also remembering how I meant to put like the back, there's a The back corner of the room is right around here. And I was planning to indicate that somehow. Let's try it and see how it looks. Culinary says, I say this every time about the music. That's funny. Let's close this. The only way we can save is to close and reopen. So I'm just going to put another rectangle in here. Send that to the back, and then send our main background behind that. Okay. Obviously, this is too dark. I might just not worry about having a separate shape back here, but I want to play around with it a little. I feel like if anything, that should be lighter. Yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it. Well, maybe I want a line there. Let's try just a line. I actually had a short snippet of my last stream get muted, but it was because Twitch's terrible song matching algorithm thought it was a completely different song. I will appeal it just because I'm stubborn, but my past experience tells me that the appeal will be approved, but it won't actually do anything. It'll still be muted. I wish they would improve all of that. Check my reference. I should be looking at my reference, not trying to look at real life. Okay, so this line in real life should be a little further right than I have it here. It's like kind of right in line with this phone mount. That's better. I was just bumping up the against the patterns in a weird way before. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think I like it a little bit with a line there. All right. So text. As I've said many times in the past, I don't do well at coming up with good text on stream, but I'm trying to think a little bit about what I want this to say. So again, this is an Easter egg. You get here in kind of a silly way. So the text should kind of, reflect that you're a little confused about where you are. And now I'm trying to think of like the context of how our main character would feel about this room. Like, our game is basically set in the late 90s, like 99 or maybe 2000. So this would be an old computer to them. But then the whole streaming setup would be unusual. So I'm just trying to imagine how they would feel about this space. Something about remembering using one of these computers back in school. That's pretty good. Which is where Macs, Apple IIs were most prevalent in the 90s. Yeah. I'm thinking. I don't think I ever encountered, at least not very often, an early Mac at school. Lots of Apple IIs for sure. And then later, some, much later Macs from the 90s in some cases, in fancier setups. Something about an anachronistic alternate timeline. My first ever owned computer was a Mac Plus, so I have kind of personal nostalgia for this particular era of Macs. Nice. So I grew up with a 512K, which was like the model right before that, but it was actually upgraded to be not quite as powerful as a Mac Plus, but I think pretty close. And I still have it, but unfortunately it does not operate. But I did buy a Mac Plus recently. And hopefully one day I'll figure out how to get the 512K running again. What were PC clone looking Apple computers called in the early to mid 90s? Performa is probably what you're thinking of. That was like kind of the budget line. Generally a much more generic looking era of Apple computers. Okay. So I'm just going to rough in some text here. You're in a strange room. There's a desk in front of you with an old Macintosh on it. I'm trying to think how our character would perceive the rest of this stuff. I think we'll call it like recording equipment. There's a bunch of odd recording equipment around it. You're not sure what it's for. On the screen of the Macintosh, you can see two windows. One window shows a bus stop, and this is the scene on the screen here is actually the start of the game. One window shows a bus stop. I'm starting to run out of space here, so I'm starting to think of how I can condense this a little bit. Maybe we should actually not describe what's on the screen too much. Let's just say something like, the image on the computer screen looks oddly familiar. I think that's good. And then later, as we interact with it or look at it, we'll have more of a description that, makes it clear that this is the bus stop you start out at. Delete game. Oh no. Okay, so let's add some code here. Again, this room is a weird space. Because it's not real. Like it's not the same as like our credit screen, because it is a physical space, but also we want to make sure the player doesn't drop items here, for example. And there's probably some other interactions that we'll want to like disable. So we need to add some code to do that. Surely a camera that small could not be very good. So let's see. Just trying to think of what screen to grab some code here from. Oh, it's getting late, huh? I probably need to wrap up soon. So this block of code here is for getting back into the game world. But I think the way this screen will work is that you get back into the game world by interacting with the computer, and you'll always go back to the bus stop, even though that's not where you came from initially, necessarily. So I don't think we're going to include this block of code. People might have the inverse opinion. Big camera equals old. So, okay. That's interesting. I'm just looking at this block of text here. If text contains open, I think I did that so people wouldn't open certain objects that they can interact with on this screen. But I don't think I actually blocked all of them with this code. But I don't think that's too much of a problem. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Let's see, there's a bunch of text in here that we don't need, but... Actually, this is a bad one to pull this code from. Let's pick a different screen. Probably help is better. There's just too much stuff in there we don't actually want. Microphones are interesting in how little they've changed. Yeah, that's a good point. That is very interesting. Although I feel like a small microphone seems to be a lot higher quality than it used to be. But, you know, if you want a good microphone, the size isn't going to be that much different. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so this is the block of code we want here. Mostly we want to prevent dropping objects because that starts to get a little weird. Okay. So, going back to this open code here. Again, this says if text contains open. It says please close the help first, because we took this from the help screen. This, I believe, was intended to prevent interacting with certain objects. Because when you're done interacting with those objects, first of all, it doesn't really make sense to go to there from the help. Like they're in the game world objects. So, you know, if you're interacting with them, you should be in the game world, not on a help screen. But the space we're in is a little different. But the tricky thing here is if you open, for example, our email device, the little sweetie, you would go to a separate screen to do that. And then when you close that, we actually have this code that takes you back to the physical location you were previously at. This is a list of all the locations that I've had to keep track of. And if you're interacting with the email device in this screen and then close it, I think it would make sense to come back to here. But I also don't think I want to treat the streaming room as a physical space. Maybe I do, actually. It's a little complicated because it's a weird in-between state. Lower frequencies also probably needs bigger parts to be captured. Oh, Culinary said, good question. How does a thing need to be... How big does the thing need to be to capture vibrations in the air without the body of the mic resonating? Yeah. Also, like, a cool thing about this microphone is it actually has, like... Trying to look around for where my previous mic setup was. But before, I had this big, like, shock ring mount around it. And then, you know, in the middle of that was the Yeti mic I used to use. But this mic actually has that shock absorption built in inside of the microphone, which is very cool. Light is much easier to capture. That's interesting, though. Like, why is that? I don't know enough about either technology to really wrap my head around that. Shock mount bit the dust after about a year. That's a bummer. Yeah, I was very glad to learn that this had that built in. I actually didn't find that out until after I bought it. But I was like, oh, wow, that's great, because it was always kind of a pain to have that huge thing. And it was going to be even more complicated just because of the way this mic mounts to the arm. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out how to deal with this open. I think for now, I'm just going to say, if you're not sure, you should mess with that here. Just a more extremely generic way to say you can't do that now. And I'll think about how to adjust this later. And then if you drop something, we're going to have a similar kind of vague message. Just trying to think of how to word it. This is an unusual space. You're not sure it's a good idea to leave your things here. Sure, that'll work. Search we don't have to intercept at all. Search is an appropriate action to take here, so we'll just have the default that says you don't find anything. Unless we do decide to have something you can find, which is a possibility that I'm now thinking a lot about. If there was something to find, I think it would just be another Easter egg, but it might be fun. Reminds me, they released a much cheaper version of my mic without the built-in amplifier and EQ switches. Need to check some reviews to see if I can start recommending it to folks. Nice. What's the mic you use? You upgraded yours not too long ago, right? Like in the past year or so. SE Dynacaster. Nice. Okay. So I think the next thing to do is figure out the interaction for getting out of here. So my idea for this is on the screen here, we have our starting screen, which for anyone not familiar with the game, let's open that up. So here's our bus stop where we start at. So this is the screen we're trying to show on the Macintosh here. And just to kind of help sell the eeriness of this room and this whole situation, I thought we'd kind of draw out the interaction with the screen here. So if you click on the screen, probably if you click anywhere on the computer maybe, it'll zoom in to give you a closer view of the bus stop. And then you'll get some text outputting that, you know, helps make it clear that you recognize this as where you started out at the beginning of the game. that your character recognizes this place. Obviously, you know, they didn't see it in this way, but, you know, it looks enough like the bus stop to them that they're like, this is very unsettling. And then if you interact with it again, you'll actually be transported back to the bus stop. Script and World Builder looks interesting. Never seen a syntax like that before. Yeah, it's very much its own little language. It's pretty limited. Let's see. Let's open up some again here. So yeah, you just have you know, I have if statements. Text refers to the player's input. A single equal sign means contains. If we had two equal signs, then it would be checking to see if the input exactly matches the text after the equal sign. You know, print, pretty self-explanatory. I was hoping we'd have a little more code in whatever I randomly opened up here. Let's see. We can set variables, but the only variables we have are a letter and a number. So like A1 through Z9. So I've had to keep track of, you know, every variable we've used and what they mean, which is an interesting thing. You can only set a variable to be a number, which is a very tricky limitation. So this code here sets L1 to 8, and 8 represents the bathroom. So there's some other code in the game that, you know, will take us back to the bathroom based on how that variable is set. Let's see, we can play sounds. We can move around objects and items. Scene at is a way to refer to the current scene. If you want to refer to a different scene, you have to type its name exactly, which is another fun complication. So if you ever change the name of an area, then you have to update all your references in code. There's no find and replace to make that easier. You just have to dig through and find them all and make sure they all get updated. But yeah, that gives you kind of an idea of what it's like to work in this. It's a little... It's great in that it's, you know, it's designed, I think, first and foremost to be simple and approachable, which I think it did a great job of. You know, I don't know, probably around 11 or 12 when I first used this. And, you know, I was able to understand it pretty well, I think. I never did anything too advanced back then, but I definitely had fun playing with it. But certainly when you start to do more advanced stuff, it can get a little limiting. One of the trickier things is you can have an if statement that includes or and, but you can't combine both. There's no way to, like, you know, if blank or blank and if blank or blank, you have to do, like, break it up into a couple if statements, which can get kind of complicated. Another fun limitation is there's a limit on how much code you can have in any given window, basically. And there's not really a great way to check how close you are to that limit. There are places where it tells you how big your code is, but it doesn't seem to quite match up with the actual limitations. Davor says, could you make or and its own function? No, that's another thing. You can't create a function. Like, if you want to have two chunks of code that do the same thing, you just have to copy and paste the code. It's the only way to do it. Tonic says, actually, I had completely forgotten I have the box for this. That's great. I just dug out the manual, and it seems they have quite elaborate documentation for all of this. I wish I had more spare time because this would be really interesting to get into. Yes, I actually have. I have the manual and the floppy disks. So here's my manual. And then I actually have... So I have World Builder 1.0, which is the original release, of course, and then a copy of 1.1, both indicated with ballpoint pen. I honestly don't remember enough. Like, I was too young to really remember much about this. I don't know why we ended up with actual discs for two versions. And then I also have Enchanted Scepters, which is the original game that this system was created for. This is like most likely the first English language point and click game. Of course, kind of depends on, exactly how you define point and click game. Point and click adventure game, excuse me. But it's a neat little game, and it was all made in World Builder. This was released in '84, the same year the Macintosh came out. And then World Builder came out 2 years later. But yeah, it's a neat book and a very helpful reference. I've mostly spent time consulting the appendix at the end that gives you a nice summary of all the different commands you can do. And they're all on 2 pages. The manual also walks you through creating an entire little game called Midnight Snack, which I definitely took a shot at myself when I was younger. Enchanted Scepters is a really good catch. Hard to find. Don't have it yet. Yeah, I wish I had the box. It's a beautiful box too. Actually, for a second I was thinking maybe I do have a World Builder box, but I don't think I do. But yeah, I think back then, my parents were buying this stuff for me, and they probably just tossed the box. They figured there was no reason to keep it. Later years, I started keeping all my boxes, but then a while back had some basement flooding that destroyed a lot of them, so that was a bummer. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'll come back and. Part of my break is going to be figuring out how much longer I can go here, but I'll be back in just a minute or two. Okay, got about half an hour before I need to wrap it up. I wonder how much competition there was between HyperCard and World Builder for the game developers at the time. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. Let's see, this came out in '86, and I think HyperCard was actually the same year. 87 actually. Interesting. But definitely, because World Builder was initially created for Enchanted Scepters, it felt like a tool from a few years earlier than HyperCard. And HyperCard was definitely more advanced in a lot of ways. Though if you wanted to create like specifically a point and click adventure game, I feel like World Builder definitely had an advantage there, just because there's so much about it that's specifically, you know, tailored to that type of thing. I certainly myself went on to, you know, once I had HyperCard, I don't think I really used World Builder that much. I definitely spent a lot more time playing around in HyperCard at that point. Okay. So, like I was saying, we're gonna add a little interactivity to our streaming room here, but we need to go grab some more art from MacPaint. Salt Ranger, hello. I'm pretty sure you just came in. Often when someone comes in and doesn't specifically say hello, I'm like, oh gosh, you just came here, right? I didn't say hello to you an hour ago. I'm sure sometimes I do that. I apologize. It's just hard to remember these things sometimes. Oh, you have been here for a bit? Or are you messing with me, Culinary? Now I'm scrolling back up. Oh, okay. I totally missed a comment. Oh, I missed multiple comments from Salt Ranger. Okay, I apologize, but I don't think I ever said hello. So I apologize for that too. I'm sorry about everything. But I hope you're doing great today. Just before the raid. Okay. Thank you for not being offended. It's very hard to keep track. Like, it's weird to like a lot of it is like, you know, if you were sitting around with a bunch of people, you know, it'd be so much more obvious when someone, you know, comes in and, you know, sits down with the people you're talking to, right? When you're streaming, it's just like, you just have these text names that, you know, pop up occasionally, and it's hard to know when people are coming and going. And it's also, you know, kind of hard to keep track of, you know, who you've said hello to and stuff like that. Streaming has so many weird things to deal with that you might not necessarily have expected.
Hello.
Hello, 6-7. Huh.
Hello.
Oh, okay, there it goes. Hello, Game Dev Jeff. For a second, I thought the sound was broken. Okay, so I've got all these over here, but the outer shape is not quite correct. So, let's see. Delete this one. Huh. Did my thanks not work? That's strange. I'll do a manual thanks sound, because it's a good sound.
Thanks.
There we go. Thank you for the thanks, Tonix, and you're welcome. Obsidian Glue, hello. Have to ask, are you running the old OS Actual emulator? Brings back memories. So this is an emulator called Mini VMAC, which is fantastic if you want to emulate a Macintosh of this era. So we're emulating a Mac Plus and running System 6. I do have in the other room 2 computers of this era, one which runs and one which does not. But even the one that runs, it's not ideal for streaming from. So this gives us a little nicer setup, and y'all can see what I'm doing much better. We also missed the thanks from Unsecret Crush. Oh, that was another thanks. So yeah, I think my thanks must just be broken. I'm going to make a note of that right now. I recently changed around the way some of my sounds are set up, so I must have just goofed that one up somehow. Thanks is broken. Hello, David Alexander. Good to see you. think the thanks redeem might be broken. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Did you ever use AUX? That name is familiar, but I have no idea what it even is. I've never used it. Please tell me more. I would love to hear about it. It's become thanks, but no thanks. I suppose it has. Okay, so I'm copying this display. And I'm going to take the contents of this screen and drop it into this shape, which is slightly different. So first we need to clear all this out. AUX is a Unix-based operating system from Apple Computer for Macintosh computers, integrated with System 7's graphical interface and application compatibility? What? How did I never know about this? That's fascinating. Oh, wow. I'm going to need to check that out. Like, I'm sure it's a thing I've heard of before. Like I said, the name is familiar. I just, you know, I'm sure back then I never had any reason to tinker with it. And other times I've heard about it, I just, you know, didn't think too much about it. But that sounds really interesting. Thanks, Silent. Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll take biscuits, sure. Have I ever complained or turned down a biscuit? I don't think I've ever done this. It's Apple's Unix environment that ran on 68K Macs. I've tried out AUX 3.x on a Mac 2CX about 10 years ago. Was fun, but not very useful. Yeah, like I'm trying to think of what you would actually use that for. Seems like you would need a pretty specific scenario for that to really make sense. Oh, so the shading, shoot. I need to redo what I just did, I think. I want to keep the shading on the side here because we're lacking that in this version. One can never be sure. I suppose that's true. If you try out AUX, you need real hardware. Not sure if any emulators can do it yet. It uses hardware stuff that, for example, Basilisk 2 is not able to do. Okay, good to know. And there's a limited group of system it ran on. Ah, okay. Yeah, I probably don't have the appropriate hardware to run that. Used to have a 2CI that sounds like it would be of the right era, but sadly got rid of that a long time ago. There was a time in my life when I was like, I don't need old technology. Why would I need that? Especially if I have, you know, something newer that can run all the software. Got rid of many old computers that I regret, or well, maybe just a couple computers. I kind of regret getting rid of some CRTs that I used to have, but also I kind of don't. Certainly some video game systems I regret getting rid of a little bit. Oh well. Wish I still had my Tandy 1000. That was my childhood machine. Nice. Cosmic Void, hello. I just realized I've mostly not been doing shoutouts today. Because, you know, we're just having a nice time here. I don't need to worry about it. We're all friends here. But I did do a couple earlier. Now I feel weird about it. I just want to acknowledge this. No offense to anyone. Everybody go check out everybody's cool stuff. They're all great, including Cosmic Void's games. But hello, Cosmic Void. I hope you're doing great today. That's looking pretty good, I think. It's a little tricky to... Like, I want to shade this a little, but I'm pretty sure I tried that. And it got... it got too hard to read. Especially because, like, if I put shading in this one, then do I put shading in that one? It's so hard. That does look kind of nice. Ooh, gonna release Tommy Gun Witches next week. Okay, well now you twisted my arm. I'm gonna give you a shout out. New Cosmic Void game dropping next week that y'all should definitely check out over at cosmicvoid.itch.io. Sorry, I'm trying to understand Secret Crush's comment. Oh, where? What? We also have French bread to use up. Biscuits or garlic toast. Oh, wait. Okay, got it. I mean, I'm fine with either, whichever one makes sense to you. Like, if we need to use up that toast, maybe that is the better way to go. Bread, rather. Playtesting this game, we found a major flaw in Game Maker and submitted our report. I feel like that's always a mixed bag. Like, it's cool that you found a bug and, you know, maybe help some other people, but also a little bummer that you have a bug you maybe can't work around. Hopefully you were able to figure out a solution. It was Steven who actually found the flaw. But, yeah, I'm very excited for that game. That art you teased the other day looked very intriguing. Also, the name itself is very intriguing. Tommy Gun Witches. Can't wait. I can't decide on the black. I think I'll do without. And then, you know, if I change my mind later, we can try adding some shading. I also tried to do a version here with a person sitting on the bench, which would be our main character, just to kind of up the eeriness factor that our main character is, you know, looking at themselves sitting on this bench. But I don't like the way it reads. You know, you can kind of tell it's a person. It's just... it's a little too much to get into a tiny spot. So I'm copying this. Drop that in the scrapbook. Basically, if you assign 2 quotes as a key in struct, it creates a memory corruption somewhere. That somewhere can be a totally different struct. Ooh, that sounds difficult to narrow down the cause of a problem. Like, you spot the problem and it probably took forever to figure out what was causing it. Do you mean using quote as a key in a structs map? Basically assigning an empty string. Yeah, I figured that was what you meant. Sounds weird to do, but I did it somewhere and it had unforeseen consequences. That is spooky. Yeah, I would also be surprised that you were the first ones to do that, but maybe you weren't. You were just the first ones to, you know, notice it and also, you know, take the time to track down what the hell was going on. Like, that part seems extremely believable to me. Like, definitely, I feel like the thing I've struggled with most in any sort of programming is that category of bug where, like, the ultimate cause of it is not the code that is presenting a problem. Often, like, you know, some sort of memory issue or something like that. Okay, so we're going to drop this screen. I guess we'll go ahead and paste it in here first so we can line it up correctly. So this will appear directly on top of that one. Don't need to save that. Memory or multi-threading, which is also memory, I guess. Yeah. Cosmic Void says, I'm using a rather current version of GM, so if they'd known about it, you'd think they would have fixed it. I think the hard bit was actually tracking down the specific thing that causes the bug because the corruption can manifest itself in a whole nother variable. Yeah. Okay. So I've created a new object here, and we got to scroll all the way around, all the way down again to get to it. How many? I'm just suddenly wondering as I scroll through this very long list, how many objects can we have in this game? I hope it's a lot. I hope it's not like, 256 or something. I don't think, I feel like we're probably still under 100. Okay. So, just to review all our game limits here. The game as a whole can be up to 16 megabytes, which is honestly quite large. I mean, floppy disks at the time were 800K. Certainly you could have it on a hard drive, but, when this first came out, most people would not have had a hard drive. Sound library can be the same size, 16 megabytes. A game can have up to 2,500 scenes, and the map is limited to 50 by 50. You can have up to 32,767 characters, objects, and sounds. So that's way, way, way more than we would ever possibly get to. An item name can be 255 characters, also quite generous. Design size can be 20,480 bytes, or about 20K. So that's like the graphic portion of a scene or object. Text size can be 10,240 characters. That is like way more than would fit on a screen, so that's not really a concern. If you print more text than fits on the screen, it's really annoying for the player to the player has to scroll back up. So it's not a thing I would recommend ever doing. Text in data dialogues can be 200 characters. Sounds can be 65,536 bytes uncompressed. Oh, and also the text size is also the same limitation for a code window, which that is something you can very easily hit, and I have done that, and it sucks. How do they figure out these limits, I wonder? I'm sure they're all ultimately programmed in limits in some manner. Whether it's, they probably figured out, based on, memory constraints and stuff like that, what was reasonable, and then, programmed in those limits into the World Builder tool to make sure you don't pass them and, run into issues. I wonder if World Builder is 32-bit clean, because in just 24-bit mode, reaching 16 megabyte game size would be tough. So I don't think it was. Yeah, I'm positive that it was not originally. They did eventually release, let's see, I think there's not a direct link there, but I think on my site here, there's a link to the most recent version of World Builder. There was a freeware release in 1995. I was trying to find the version number, but I'm not seeing it. 1.2. Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. So 1.2 is 32-bit clean, I believe. Yeah, version 1.2 adds 32-bit compatibility and additional supporting files. Okay, so this object, well, we'll go ahead and paste our graphic in there first. And we're just going to name this Mac Close-Up. Well, we'll just name it Mac Screen. It doesn't really matter if it's specific. And then we need to change some properties here. So this will start out in storage, which is just a holding area that the player can't access. So you can put things in there and then move them into the game with code. We want to make it immobile so the character cannot pick it up. And the rest of that doesn't really matter. Oh, we also need... Okay. We also need a clickable thing to interact with here. So I think what I'm going to do is take the Mac itself and the keyboard. I think those are the objects I want to be clickable. Oh, I didn't draw a mouse. That's funny. I might want to do that now that I've realized it. It's a shame I realized it, because until now it was fine. But let's take these out and put them in objects so that the player can click on them. I'll just name that Mac. Let's see, 50 by 50. Unsecret Crush said, like, the total number of scenes is so much larger than the map limit. 50 by 50 is 2,500. So that's the same. It's just you couldn't do, you know, like 25 by 100 map, for example. Tonic said, speaking of 24 bits, it's a shame that Apple accidentally artificially limited resource map sizes to 16 megabytes because Resource Fork saves offsets with just 24 bits. 8 high bytes are wasted by resource flags. Interesting. Ah, you misheard. Okay. Okay, so there's our Mac. And then, as far as I can tell, the World Builder is very smart. Like, it will look at the pixels as opposed to just the bounding box here to determine what's clickable. So, you know, anywhere actually inside of the Mac area will be clickable, which is great. We want the screen to appear in front of the Mac, so unfortunately we have to cut and paste that and then rename it. Whenever you paste something in, it gets named untitled. Thought you said like in the thousands for scene. There were other, you know, I rattled off a lot of numbers and some were in the thousands, so understandable mistake. Okay, so we need to adjust the properties for this now. And this one will be in streaming room. And also a mobile. Big numbers don't stick in my brain. That's fair. Okay, so now we can make that Mac be clickable, and we will write some code to do that. So, if click $, that's like kind of a special variable that refers to what the player has clicked on. And we want to do 2 equal signs. If we happen to type a single equal sign here, it would match any object that includes Mac in the name, which would include our Mac screen. It would, if we had a Macintosh Apple object, it would include that. So that's not what we want. We want this specific Mac object is the only one we want to match here. And we generally try to have, whenever possible for any interaction, I try to let the player click or type to do the same things. So I am going to do that here, which starts to get a little complicated. But we'll check the text, which is the player's text input. And then I try to be flexible with the parser, even though it is not designed in a way to be very flexible. So I accomplish this by checking for like a verb and a noun separately. So we want to be able to look at the computer, use the computer. Let's see, we'll allow type. Whoops. or click. And then we need to have to make sure they've entered both the verb and the noun, we need to do some nested if statements here, which is where it starts to get messy. And we also have to repeat this check for clicking, because if they're clicking, that's only one thing, but we can just repeat it to make sure that like passes through both the if statements. It's weird, but it works. So for the verb, we're going to allow things like Mac, and that'll also match Macintosh if they happen to type the full word out. Computer, keyboard. I'm going to put mouse in here, even though we don't yet have a mouse. That seems pretty flexible. If anyone has other suggestions for either verb or noun, I'm open to that. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is move our Mac screen object to the current scene. And then we're going to print some text. And we'll say the computer screen the screen of the Macintosh changes to show a close-up of one of the windows. Let's back up a little here. The screen of the Macintosh is showing a I just keep rewriting this in my head. Shows two windows. A larger window on the left shows a drawing of a scene, and a smaller text window on the right describes it. The screen changes to show a close-up of the drawing. It looks oddly familiar. This looks exactly like the bus stop you arrived at. You first arrived at. And then I've been doing a blank line after any text output just to break things up. Food is ready. Okay, thank you. I am wrapping up right now. That's the last thing I was going to do. Let's check it real quick to make sure it works, and that'll be it. Fortunately, do not have enough chili and garlic bread for all of chat. I'm sorry, chat. We'll have to invite you all over for dinner another time. Okay, so let's see. Credits. No one look at what I'm doing. It's the secret Easter egg. Okay. Here we are in streaming room. You're in a strange room. There's a desk in front of you with an old Macintosh on it. There's a bunch of odd recording equipment around it. You're not sure what it's for. The image on this computer screen looks oddly familiar. Okay, I think I maybe repeated oddly familiar a bit too many times, but that's okay. So let's try clicking on it. Oh, okay. Well, that didn't work. So a fun limitation that isn't documented is that a print statement can only be so many characters. If it's longer than that, it just gets arbitrarily cut off. In a confusing way. The limit is much longer than this. I don't know what determines where the text gets cut off, because it's always much shorter than what the limit is. But at least we got our updated screen, and you know, the interaction worked even if the print statement did not. And that's it for today. Let me see if we find someone to raid here. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you again, Tonix, for the raid. Appreciate you coming by. And also the subscription. Very, very appreciated. I think we'll go say hey to Emma Pearl. No, that's wrong. I did the slash the wrong way. There we go. We got it. All right. Emma Pearl's great. She's currently doing some crafting, making SpongeBob sun catchers, which is wonderful. Let me hit my schedule real quick. So my next stream is on Tuesday evening, 8:30 EDT. If you click either of those links there, that'll give you the time in your local time zone. That'll be, I'm going to start playing Murder Club, which is a DOS game I'm very excited about. Tuesday is my Spooky Tuesday. I usually play something a little spooky, like a mystery game or something like that. Friday is usually my regular World Builder day, but this Friday I'm going to have a special stream where I share some games I made when I was like 11 or 12 in HyperCard. So I'm very excited about that. But yeah, have a great day, and we'll see you around. Take care, y'all.